Alright guys, so this is video 3 for week 3. Hopefully this is the last video. We'll see. So we just got done talking about slide 9. I talked about how environmental worldviews can be seen on products in the store. It can also be seen on businesses' websites, right? So let's jump back into our Word doc here and go down to, what's happening? We are currently on question 8. Question 8, part 1. What's one way you think environmental ethics can influence a business? Right? So in question 7, I had you talk specifically about Starbucks. For question 8, any business. What's one way the environment, or one way, like, the business owner's thought process of what's right and what's wrong, their ethics, right? What's one way their ethics comes into play in decision-making around that business? Again, pertaining to the environment. Question 9, I don't think I've covered that yet, so let's go back to the slides, and we're going to go to slide 10. Alright, companies list the environmental worldview on their products because they know customers care. Especially right now, there's this really big green trend. Green just means like pro-environment, right? And customers today really want to know what businesses are doing and how they're contributing to climate change, if they're contributing to climate change. What are they doing that's good for the environment? Customers are, especially here actually in Oregon, I feel like people won't buy certain things if they know that the company is polluting, or if they are doing something unethical when it comes to the environment, or if they're damaging the environment in some way. So they know that their customers care about the environment. At least more customers now in 2020 care, I think, before than previous decades. So some people will only buy products from companies that have a certain environmental worldview. Then there are other people that go in and buy things and they don't care. They don't care what the company does to the environment. They just want to buy the thing that they want to buy, right? Go in and buy some chocolate, and I'm not thinking about where that chocolate is coming from. A lot of people don't realize that a lot of the chocolate that we eat here in the United States is actually, unfortunately, not ethically grown. In some cases, similar to Blood Diamond, where there were people forced to work in the mines, there are people forced to pick cocoa, and that cocoa is then used in the chocolate that we eat, right? So some people think about these things, right? Some people don't, right? Again, your environmental worldview, your perspective. All right. Question 9, using slide 10, the slide I just read. Why do companies list their environmental worldview on their products? Okay, I answered that in that slide. Question 10, everyone has a different environmental worldview. Come up with one example of a person who demonstrates each of the following: human-centered thinking, life-centered thinking, earth-centered thinking. Good thing I talk about that in the next slide. All right, I think we're on slide 11 here. Slide 11? It's slide 11. Got 3. Before I teach you, I'm not teaching you about the worldviews yet. I've taught you what the word worldview means. I'm actually going to end up teaching you 3 specific worldview models. In order to better understand the models that I teach you, you have to understand this slide. Okay? So this is like we're almost at the point where we're learning about the specific worldviews, right? We're almost there. So I'm just going to read the first part of the slide here. An environmental worldview can be human-centered. This is called anthropocentric. This means that the person is primarily focusing the needs and wants of people, humans, and not much else. Okay, it should say, I don't think it's worded very well, and I wrote it, so, So the person is really only concerned about humans. Human-centered thinking. So that means they're not thinking about the squirrels and the birds at the bus stop, right? They're not thinking about all the endangered species. They're not thinking about what mining is doing to the environment. They're not thinking about global warming or climate change. They're just thinking about people and what people need and how to get what people need. People. Nothing else. Then other worldviews are considered to be life-centered, biocentric. We all know that bio means life at this point. We learned about it last quarter. Life-centered. This means that the person focuses on their thinking is bigger than just people. So maybe they do care about the endangered species or a specific endangered species. Maybe they care about the ecosystem that they live in and they don't want it to be dirty. They care about something, like their worldview is focused on more than just themselves, more than just the human race. They are concerned about other life forms, other organisms, and all of us doing well. All living things. Then there is one last thing I want to say. So environmentalist or environmental worldviews can be, like I said, human-centered, life-centered, but they can also be earth-centered, right? Which is beyond life. So they believe in the importance of preserving the planet, all the living things on the planet, all of the non-living things on the planet. It is not right for humans to consider themselves managers or designers of the earth, because all organisms and all natural resources, whether they're alive or not, we're not theirs to manage. They're not ours. We don't own them. We share this planet with all of those natural components, right? We're not the managers of them. So some people, their worldview encompasses this idea of being earth-centered. So we've got human-centered, life-centered, and earth-centered. And you want to think about where you are in all of this. I feel like if I were to do this with myself, I would say I'm somewhere in between being biocentered and earth-centered. I think in order to classify yourself as being earth-centered, you have to be doing a lot for environmental justice. I feel like I try. I think before I buy certain things, right, about the environment. But not everything I buy is environmentally friendly. And I think in order to truly be earth-centered, I not only have to care about, I think I have to put more energy into the environment than even I do. So I think if I were to match my thinking, I'm probably somewhere in between life and earth. Okay, I want to show you this graphic here. So this is showing you what we just talked about in the last slide, but it's adding a couple things, right? So let me go over it. So we've got human-centered being this white line. There's even one more that I didn't talk about, self-centered. So this means you could give two poops about everybody else on this planet. You really only care about you, and you, right? So self-centered, human-centered, life-centered, ecosystem-centered. I didn't really talk about that. You just care about your little ecosystem. And then earth-centered. So like figuring out where your thinking is in this continuum. Where are you in this map? Are you like me? I'm like somewhere around here, I think, right? Like I said, I was in between life and earth. Maybe I'm ecosystem-centered. I don't know. but I want you to think about where you fall. So we're going to be talking about 3 environmental rules. So again, we've already gone over this one, right? You're just coming up with one example of someone who's human-centered in their thinking. So this could be like someone throwing their trash out the window, right? I mean, anything that you think is human-centered in terms of the environment. Life-centered, someone who comes from the perspective that all life on Earth matters, and how they feel about the environment. And then Earth-centered, someone who thinks that it's not just life that's important, but the whole planet, including all the abiotic factors. So you're coming up with an example of each of these. Question 11. On the image on the last slide, sorry guys, should say slide. The smallest circle says self-centered. What do you think this means in reference to the 3 ways of thinking discussed on slide 11? I actually already told you, go back, rewind. I didn't mean to give you that question, but I actually gave it to you. We talked about that. All right, so now I'm going to start the second part of the week's work, right? It says week 3 assignment part 2. Use the notes part 2. In Christie's, it should actually say 3rd video. 3rd, and I hate to say it, but probably 4th. To answer the following questions. Again, we're going to aim, guys, to have these done by next Monday, 4/27. I'm going to add the next week's worth of work on the 27th. So I'm hoping that this is completed by the 27th, next Monday, 1 week from today. All right, so here we go. I'm exiting out of notes part 1. I'm going back to Schoology, and I'm going to download notes part 2. I'm going to hit that little down button to download it. And I'm going to start reading my notes, my second thing in notes for the week. So the first thing I want to read to you guys is the title. It says 3 examples of environmental worldview models and introduction to the quarter project. Woo! Exciting stuff. So we're going to learn about 3 different environmental worldview models, and we are going to learn about our project. So the driving question. This driving question, you're going to hear this term, I think, more next year when we do more of these big projects. A driving question is like the reason why us, the teachers, are making you do a project. It's like the question behind the project, right? Why are we doing it? So what needs to go into consideration to create an environmentally sustainable business? That's your driving question this quarter. So almost every learning target, every sticker you get is going to come back to this question. You will end up making a PowerPoint presentation for me at the end of the quarter, and you are going to be talking about an environmentally sustainable business that you've created yourself. All right, my video is just about up, so go on and click video.